Hello and welcome to the Legends of the Wind podcast. I'm Jurri Schenck. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight is going to be a very special night for my new guest, Nic Graves, joining us. And I'll be introducing him shortly. It's so cool about what we're doing here at Legends of the Wind. We are revealing people's identity and destinies through the revelation of prophetic storytelling. And here at Legends of the Wind, we want to help encourage and strengthen people and give them the aha moments and the sense of security for their future. And so one of the things about what does it mean to become a legend? So legends are not just like, oh, I'm famous or look how great I am. But legends have a function and they're on a map, kind of like our logo right here. And legends are parts of a map that tell you where things are, what things mean, and it gives you a place of knowing where you are on the map and the direction in your life that you're going. And these stories, these prophetic stories that we provide here, are like that. They're breathed by God. They're breathed by the Spirit. And these stories are a beginning place for people, and that they point people into the future and give them a sense of direction and identity and let them finish their parable. So with Nic becoming on the show, he's becoming a legend. He's getting a sense of his story. He's becoming a legend for where the Spirit is revealing to him his identity and destiny and giving him hope for his future. Now, we did that on our last broadcast with Grant, and that was such a cool story because Grant is 27 years old, and he had a story that revealed a deep thing called the times of the soul. There are different parts of his past, his ages of his soul, that had different areas of trauma or celebration. And there was a place in his heart that needed healing. And so that story revealed that for him. Now, just because these stories were written for a specific person doesn't mean we don't benefit for them ourselves. So I encourage you to go check out that last broadcast with Grant. It will provide you revelation for healing and create an opportunity for that to happen. Now, we've been getting orders for stories, so I want to thank everybody who have trusted me to give them a prophetic story here at Legends of the Wind. And if you want your own story, you can order one from us at legendsofthewind.com and go to the store or the shop and look for the product called Become a Legend. And there you can get a deal right now. We're at 60% off. Typically, these stories will cost $250. And what that is it's my time and talent being put into use here. This isn't a church ministry. This is a creative expression where I give you a story that is like a portrait of who you are. So right now our price is $99 at this time, and I highly encourage you to go order one because these things are so special and they reveal so many great treasures inside your heart in these stories. So check it out. If you do order a story, just so you know that there are a couple of agreements that are involved. One is a release to appear on the podcast. Now, if you don't want to appear, but you still want a story, we will work with you on that. The other is a contract, basically to give us permission to publish your story and other things that are involved. But nothing is out of the ordinary, and I'm not doing anything weird with those agreements. Now, if you want to know more about the stories that I've already written, we have my book. It's found on Amazon. And also on our website, legendsofthewind.com. This is volume 1, and it contains 20 prophetic stories that I wrote for children and adults. And these things have amazing revelations hidden in them, and they're super visual. We also have an audiobook version of this, And it's not just me reading a story, but it has music, sound design. It'll suck you into the world of your imagination. And it's about 3.5 hours of content. Also, just recently we had our friend Robbie order us a book illustration from my wife, Alisha Choi. And so this is Robbie Little's story called The Clock is Ticking. And there's Robbie right now saying, hi, Jurri. Hey, Robbie, good to see you. This is her special print book. It's so smooth, and Alisha did such a great job of doing the painting. And we also have others, too, here. So we have a hardbound, which is a glossy kind of thing, or you can also get it in matte, and also softbound. And my wife, Alisha Choi, did these designs. And if you want to have your own story be memorialized, or I can't even say it, but it's something as a keepsake, you can definitely order that as well. So I highly recommend it. And so thank you so much for the people who have purchased a story or purchased a book. Thank you, Robbie, for ordering your own special hard book, physical book for this. Now, that's enough of the business. I want to welcome you to our show. Now I'm going to bring in our guest, Nic Graves. So, Nic, welcome to Legends of the Wind. How are you, man?
Man, doing great. How are we doing today?
Good. Thanks, man. I'm so excited to meet you. Now, just so everybody knows in the audience, I only met you like 15 minutes ago, correct?
Right.
Great. So I've never interviewed you. I've never looked into who you are, correct?
That's correct.
Great. But I'm so excited that you're here, because not only are you here, but your mom brought you here, and also your other siblings have signed up. So why did you request a prophetic story? Tell me about that.
Well, I've always loved getting prophetic stories because it kind of helps me guide and where I might need to go in the rest of my life. It's just kind of like a reminder or helps guide. And I don't know, my mom just thought it would be a great idea to come out here and try it out. And I'm really excited to be here to experience what you have for me. So,
well, that's amazing. Thank you for joining us. And so Robbie's saying, love my story, my beautiful book. Alisha, my wife, is in the chat saying, thank you, Robbie. And she says, I recommend it. And Robbie says, hi to you, Nic. So welcome, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so Nic, your story is titled Pure and True. Now, I want to help you in the audience understand how to handle prophetic stories, okay? So I learned this from Johnny Enlow, from some of his teaching. The story is meant to be understood symbolically, not to be done literally, okay? And the story is a revelation, and our conversation afterward, after I finish reading, is an interpretation. We're going to discover what it means for you. And then it's up to you, Nic, to know with the revelation and the interpretation how you apply in your life. And then you have a choice as well. You can say, yes, I love this story, I accept it, or no, I don't want this story. Or you can say parts of it I understand and I accept, or you may need time to process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Well, afterward, we'll have a conversation, and then we'll see what the chat has to say, too. So I have a little saying that I like to do with my new guests. Nic, do you know what time it is?
I don't know what time it is.
It's story time. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Very good. Your story is titled Pure and True. Nic opened the door and stepped inside. What he saw next shocked him because of his expectations that told him that he was about to suffer another significant loss. Already he had become a victim of other people abusing him. They did not understand his brilliance or his wisdom. He came in a small packaged form, but inside his heart was an incredible treasure. This gold, this valuable diamond, almost no one knew about or discovered. And Nic sometimes doubted his own worth. But now there is a new discovery about to happen. Nic was on a treasure hunt, similar to a famous archaeologist we all know and love. Nic was on a hunt to find himself. The sands of the Sahara buried his lost temple. He traveled for many miles riding alone on a camel. His water was in short supply. His food was dry and not tasty. The dunes he marched over seemed to create a maze of confusion or wonder, depending upon the mood. This journey frustrated him because he did not know where to go. But out of the heat and the mirages, the temple came before him. Over the years, the sand buried the ancient shrine, and only 2 columns stood that opened a gateway. Everything else was just sand and dust in the wind. Nic got off his camel and took a long drink of water. He needed it. The sun beat down on his face, and he scowled in the bright light, wondering about this new entrance. Nic approached the columns and saw ancient markings on them. What was interesting, these designs were not Egyptian or anything familiar. There were many eyes of various designs and sizes. Nic looked close to one carving and touched it. As soon as his fingertip rubbed across the tomb's surface, the eye blinked. This startled Nic and sent a shockwave through his very being. The ground rumbled, and the sand beneath his feet flowed down into a hole. It was a drainage of dust. Nic scrambled and tried to get to his feet and in a secure place, but the sand sucked him into the earth. Soon he was up to his waist and sank further. He cried out for help, but he was all alone. The sand continued its flow, and the earth buried Nic up to his neck. Just as he was about to go under, the sinking stopped. Only his head stuck out. It was hard to breathe, and he looked around in great desperation. All was still. The sun moved across the sky, and Nic was thirsty. His camel walked over and sniffed his head. Nic said to his friend, "Help me! Send help! Get someone to help, please!" The camel continued to walk, and as he went, the water pouch slid off his body and fell to the ground only 4 feet from Nic's head. This was the ultimate insult, thought Nic in his heart. He went on a journey to find himself. He took an enormous risk, and yet he found himself lost and overwhelmed. The need for nourishment and the tease it played was only 4 feet from his mouth. He was thirsty. Frustration parched his soul. Nic said to himself, "I am damned no matter what I do or where I go." Soon the sun reached the horizon. Hours had gone by. Nic felt helpless. He looked up at the column and all of its eyes. He peered at the eye carving that blinked. Nic had an idea and spoke. "Hey, I saw you," said Nic. The ground trembled a little. This reaction gave Nic some hope. "Hey, I'm looking at you. Pay attention. You did this to me, you know," declared Nic. The ground rumbled more. Nic's accusation had an impact. The multiple eyes that were carved all over the column opened up and they looked at Nic. Every once in a while, one eye blinked. Nic gained strength in his soul. "Yes, I knew you heard me. Why did you do this to me? How do I get out of this mess?" asked Nic. All the eyes did was blink and look at him. The sun was now halfway sunk below the horizon. The eyes seemed to glow a soft, pleasant blue. Nic's renewed strength fainted. He didn't understand how to unlock his problem and find a solution. The eyes closed, their lids halfway, and stillness filled the air. Nic lowered his chin and gave up. The sun set below the horizon, and the full moon was out and shined down on Nic and his temple. Nic whispered to himself and to anyone who would listen, "If I only knew myself better, I wouldn't have fallen into this mess." The ground then rumbled, and Nic lifted his head. All of the eyes on the column opened up and looked at him. Nic said, "What did I say?" A whispered voice came from the entrance that echoed from far off in the distance. "If you only knew yourself better, 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 better." Nic was excited and said, "Hey, who are you?" The whispered voice became stronger and replied, "Hey, who are you? You. This echo caused Nic confusion. He gained more strength and asked, "Will you please let me out of this trap? I was here to find myself." The ground rumbled again, and energy pulsated the sand around Nic's body. More shaking happened, and Nic's body rose and came out of the ground. Soon he stood on solid ground. He brushed off all the dust and sand and leaped for joy that he had found freedom. Nic walked toward the entrance, and the eyes on the column looked and followed his movement. The portal was dark. The sound of the whispered voice came from this place. Nic asked, "Hello? Who is there?" The whispered voice replied, "Who? is there, there. Nic gained courage and stepped into the doorway and entered a dark room. Only a faint flicker of a single candle shined its light in the room. Nic tried to see what was there, and he examined the walls. All over them were more eyes. He blew some dust off the edges of the wall, and the eyes opened up. Soon every eye opened, and their soft blue light filled the room and added to the candlelight. Nic looked further and saw a large door with a golden handle on it. He reached out and turned the knob, and it opened. Inside was even more light. It was golden, and there were pieces of treasure all over. Gold coins, jars, jewels, necklaces, etc. Off in the corner was a large circular mirror that had gold leaves all over its edges. Nic whispered in awe, "What is all of this?" The whispered voice came again, this time from the mirror's reflection. It said, "Who is all of this? Shock filled Nic's soul, and he walked over to the mirror. Inside the reflection was an older man in his 60s that had some salt and peppered hair. He looked strong and confident, sure and at peace. The older man smiled at Nic and beckoned him to come closer. Nic didn't realize that this was no ordinary mirror, but a portal through time. Nic asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The old man replied, "The question is, what do you want?" Nic didn't understand. This older man seemed quite familiar, and somehow Nic thought that he would know him, but this appearance mystified Nic's reasoning. Nic said, "I'm here to find myself." The older man said, "You have done it. You just don't know." Nic asked, "Is all this treasure mine? Can I keep it?" The man in the reflection said, "All of this is yours. But so am I. Tell me, Nic, who speaks to you?" Nic shook his head and replied, "I'm confused." "No, Nic, I am you. You are me. You are not confused. You are me. I am you." Revelation dawned in Nic's heart, and he exclaimed, "You're me?" The older man smiled and looked with eyes of approval. He said, "Your future is sure. You will grow into a pure and true man, my son. You still have a long journey ahead of you, but do not worry. I am evidence you will be just fine. There will be twists and turns. There will be trials, but you will have great joy. I am the voice of your destination for your journey. I am your voice of the future. Remember me." Nic's realization of talking to himself from the future overwhelmed him. He couldn't believe it, and yet there he was. Glowing light from inside the reflection filled the air and came out and wrapped around Nic's body. Peace filled his soul. The older man said, "Nic, remember everything you experienced today. Remember me. Remember you. You will find me again in your heart. Now go." The glowing light spun around Nic's body and lifted him up into the air. All the gold and treasure inside the room pulsated in the light. The mirror glowed too, and soon everything was pure white light. Nic found himself asleep on the camel that still marched in the desert. Nic woke up to the dawn's light stretching itself over a campsite of many tents. This was Nic's base camp. Some children played around a well, and they saw Nic coming toward them on the camel. They shouted for joy and woke up the people in its tents. Soon adults came out and met Nic. They smiled and asked, "Did you do it? Did you find what you're looking for?" All Nic could do was smile. As he looked down to dismount his camel, he saw a golden cup in his satchel. He grabbed it and looked it over in awe. There were closed eyes all over it in the same design as the columns of his temple. "Let's pour some wine. It's time for celebration." All the men cheered and gathered round. They had wineskins and filled each other's drinks. When one man poured wine inside Nic's golden cup, Nic looked down and saw his reflection in the wine. He saw his future self, who blew him a kiss of love. Nic drank the new wine and found great strength and refreshment. The wine tasted pure and true. Inceptio.
Wow, that was awesome. What a great story.
Cool.
Yeah, man, that was awesome.
Let's unpack that. Give me some feedback.
Man, that's a lot of good stuff in there. Man.
Cool. What's some good stuff? What is it?
Well, like when you were talking about the part where I'm like in the sand, I'm getting trapped, and I'm like asking for help. It's like that's one part in my life where I've been kind of stuck for a long time. Where
Mm-hmm.
I've been like, man, I don't know what to do. Like I'm stuck. I don't know who to ask. I don't know where to go. Like that's a really tough spot for me. That's like spot on right there.
Good. And anything else that you saw that was hitting home for you?
I mean, at a realistic point, and you were talking about in the very beginning, when you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about me like losing like a family member or something like that. That's happened a couple of times in the past, which is really unfortunate. But in the past couple of years, but
I said you lost a family member?
or something like that.
Okay. Uh,
That's
was it
kind
at
of
the
like
very beginning?
yeah, I was like at the very beginning.
Yeah, so what shocked him next because his expectation told him he was about to suffer another significant loss.
Oh,
It,
significant loss.
is
So
that
like that's kind of like what hit home for me. It's like right
mm,
there, like significant loss is like significant other to me. So it's just kind of like that kind of hit home a little bit,
okay?
and then it's like a soft spot. But
Okay, so you lost someone in your family?
yeah, so we lost a couple of family members. We lost our grandpa.
Oh,
He was like right after Christmas, like actually right before Christmas.
okay.
He got in a car accident, and then we lost our
Oh,
aunt due to COVID. So it's gonna be
oh.
kind of rough these last couple of years, but that's yeah.
I'm sorry for all
It's okay,
that.
man. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
It happens.
I think that this story. That's a cat.
Yeah, it's my cat.
That was
Sorry.
cute. That's awesome. The little tail goes by.
Hey, buddy.
Well, is this story giving you any encouragement or hope at all?
Yeah, when like we were talking about like seeing the end of the light, like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the end game. That's kind of like what I'm hoping to see in this next few years when it comes to like my job or like just kind of like wanting to know, kind of like where I'm supposed to go. Just kind of like trying to stop wandering and wander all through these doors. Just kind of like where am I supposed to go? What should I be doing with my life? This is kind of hoping that I find something that I'm supposed to be doing, that I find purpose.
Yes, and that is the struggle that you're facing, and I think that I think that the heaven is speaking to you about this very issue, and I think
Mm.
that. But before I start telling you what I think the story means, let's see if you can find out. So, what do you think about all the eyes on the columns and the walls? What does that mean to you?
I feel like to me, that kind of means that like there's a lot of people looking at me, or there's a lot of people that like are following me, or something like that. Like there's a lot of people that are looking at me that like can figure out what I'm supposed to do, or like they're wondering what I'm going to do, and trying to see if I can figure that out for myself before they tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to see if I can figure it out.
Do you
But
feel a lot of pressure of expectations from others?
I do feel a lot. I do feel that there is some pressure, like on where I'm supposed to go, or what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little bit of that.
I understand. I face the same thing at my time and at your age. I understand. Um, so, what do you think about the voice that echoed out of the temple that came and drew your character in? What do you think about that?
I mean, that kind of sounds a little bit like God, if you ask me, and like
Mm-hmm.
God talking to me, just kind of like helping me out, just like because I'm asking for help, and like I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in the sand, and I'm asking for help. No help's there. I mean, my camel, he just kind of left me all alone,
Right.
water there in the sand. So I have nothing left. So I'm crying out.
Yeah, it's like it's not fair, right? It's
Yeah,
like that's not
exactly.
right. Yeah, I think that the story is from heaven speaking to you, saying he gets you, right?
Right.
He gets your situation. He gets the frustration, the pain, the anger, the sense of stuckness and loss. But I also want you to know that that's not the end of the story, is there? the story doesn't end there. There's a change. It's funny because when I was writing this, I wrote it last night, and I was feeling in my emotions as I'm getting the story image coming to me, the incredible frustration, the incredible anger, and just grief that you were facing as I'm saying. I'm like, see, part of the thing about these stories, I don't get the ending. I don't know how it's going to resolve. So for me, when I'm getting the download, I'm like, what's going to happen? Like how's this going to fix itself? And
Right.
But what's amazing is it always works out. And so, Nic, that's the thing for you. Your situation is always gonna work out. And all the loss or the stuckness, it's not a permanent place. You may feel like you're up to your neck and it's a permanent place, but I want you to know that there was a thing here about what is it? Did you catch the thing you said that freed you from the sand pit? Did you catch it?
I might not have caught it.
Okay, I got it right here. Now, by the way, I'll give you a copy of your story tonight.
All right. Awesome.
So you gave up. You put your head down. It's at nighttime. You've been there for hours. And you whisper to yourself and to anyone who would listen, if I only knew myself better, I wouldn't have fallen myself in this mess.
If I knew myself better.
Yeah. And then it was like, the voice spoke after that. If you only knew yourself better. And then he goes, hey, who are you? Hey, who are you? You. And then I was here to find myself. And so then that question, who am I, came and released you. See, and let me help you out with the interpretation a little bit. Does the Bible say that our bodies are the temple of God? Do you know about that scripture?
I think I've heard it before. I'm just
Okay.
not super familiar with it.
That's okay. So in my eyes, this ancient temple that you're trying to find yourself in represents you. It's you. And all of the eyes are not just other people trying to give you expectations of what are you going to do with yourself, with your life, right? It's your own eyes. It's you seeing. And then the question is like, if I only knew myself better, I wouldn't have fallen into this mess. And then it becomes a question of identity. So this story is a picture, a physical reality in a spiritual realm of a journey of your identity and your destiny. Okay? So that temple is you, and that's your house. And so let me ask a couple leading questions. What's inside the temple for you, Nic? What does it mean to you? What's inside?
Temple?
Yeah, tell me about that.
The temple. Well, like the temple, they could literally be anything, man. So the temple, when I'm thinking about it, is that the temple is like the final resting place, right? So like, that's how I'm thinking about it. Just a bunch of family that I've got to know and love all these life. The people who led me to where I am in my life, the people that are going to be there for whenever I'm down, those are going to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for all those leads and stuff.
That's okay, man. So those things that you just said are treasures. The people who have been pouring their life into you to help you, those are the treasures inside your temple. Mm-hmm. So the story is telling you in a visual way, in a physical way, or what I call a physical reality in a spiritual realm, that inside is gold. Inside are treasures of jewels and diamonds and jewelry. See, Nic, that's who you are. See, the part of the beginning of your story says, he came in a small packaged form, but inside his heart was incredible treasure. This gold, this valuable diamond, almost no one knew about or discovered. And Nic sometimes doubted his own worth, but now there's a new discovery about to happen. So while you're trying to figure out what your life is, what kind of career or where to go if you want to go to school or want to get a job, what you need to hone in is that you are a treasure, that you are gold on the inside, and that you are valuable, that you are worthy of love and respect. And that's why the title of the story is Pure and True. See, that's how heaven sees you, Nick. Heaven sees you as a pure and true point of view, and that inside your temple is gold. Now, what about the mirror? What do you think about what happened there? Tell me about that.
In the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to remind me about what that was.
That's okay. So there was an older man in his 60s with salt and pepper hair that was speaking to you. Did you catch who that person is?
I don't think so.
That's okay. So it's part of the story. It says is that let me get to it real quick. It says Nick didn't realize that this was no ordinary mirror, but a portal through time. So in the story, you were meeting yourself. You're 18 right now, correct?
Right. So just kind of meeting an older version of myself.
Yes. And he was confident, sure, strong on the inside. So he spoke to you, that it was you speaking to you, that you know what? You're going to be fine. You're going to go through life. There will be trials, there'll be ups and downs, but you're going to be fine. You're going to make it. You're going to be a success. And you know, the story doesn't tell you the specific career or journey you're going to go through, but it gave you the end of the story, or the end of that kind of season. And so there's a guy that I learned from, Kim Clement. He says, I see you in the future, and you look much better there than you look right now. And then we go into the future, and we capture a memory of the future, and we bring it back. And that's what this story is doing for you. This story is giving you a picture of your future, not necessarily the career or job, but who you are in your soul. You're strong, you're confident, you're standing up on the inside of yourself. And that is the way you're going to walk into. That's the identity that meets your destiny. Does all this make sense to you, Nick?
Yeah.
Does it help you?
It does.
Give me some feedback. What's going on as you listen to me?
Well, like as you were saying about like people and telling me that I'm gonna make it when you were talking about the mirror, I mean, I definitely think that's true. I definitely just gotta believe in myself and think that I can tell myself that I can do it, whatever I'm doing. I think that's definitely true, and I think that anyone that was in the same situation as I, or in any different situation, just to believe in yourself, really, just
Right.
you can really go through anything.
Right. And you see, religious people, religious in a system, they will hear those words, oh, just believe in yourself. Oh, you can't do that. That's not good. That's self-idolatry, or that's new age. No. It's partnering with the destiny that heaven gave you, and that I am a son and I love myself. It's like, well, let's do the opposite. If we were to take those religious voices' advice and say, well, you can't believe in yourself, well, then why would you take the gold that God placed in your heart and just throw it away and make it like trash? See, Nick, you're not trash. You're treasure. And that's the difference. And so I want you to know that, see, the world wants you to say you can do anything you want. Well, yes, you can, but there's a certain thing that you agree to in your heart with heaven, that you're going to partner with heaven in doing the heart's desires, following your heart's desires. I mean, one of the things that's in this story I want you to pay attention to is, let me find it real quick, is Nick asked, who are you? What do you want? And the old man replied, the question is, what do you want? See, Nick, you have desires in your heart. There are things that you lean toward, those ideas or identities or career or interests, hobbies, whatever. And I want you to recognize that those things are part of your heavenly design and that God gave those things to you. And you need to be paying attention to those things. So the religious system will try to crush your desire. They will say to you, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? Oh, you're someone great and special? I don't think so. And that's the accusation that the religious system comes to try to diminish you and crush you. And then we start listening to it, and we start repeating it to ourselves. But if you remember that this story was yourself speaking to you from the future, saying you are good, you are pure, you are true. And that is the true who you are, right? Now, I also want you to point out something, and I'm going to go to the chat in a moment because people are commenting, is that if you notice that in this story, your character was active. That everything that happened in the story was because of what you did or what you said. And I want to encourage you, Nick, that you are the hero in your own story. And great stories are heroes that are underdogs. And they're the ones that do things afraid. And they take action, and they take incredible risks, and that they believe in the desires of their heart because heaven is partnering with them in those desires. So I want you to pay attention to the things in your heart, Nick. What are the things that you're leaning toward? What's the passion, the vision you have? And I want you to know that you have the ability to achieve great things. Now, it's funny. I'm just now looking at the chat. Robbie says, great encouragement. Your mom says, yes, so good. And Robbie also says, Nick, you can do anything with God. He is a God of great possibilities, and he placed the desires in your heart. And Mike Smith says, Nick, you are more than a conqueror. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength.
So true.
So think about King David before he was king. He was a little punk with red hair that no one loved. He was a bastard child, basically, is what people speculate. Yet he had Goliath in his life, and he also had King Saul. Goliath liked to mock the Israelites. And David's like, no way, man, you're not going to say that about my God. I'm going to kick your butt. I'm going to cut your head off. But Saul was the king, and he tried to put his own armor on David. But David believed in himself, and he didn't allow the oppression of other people's ideas to weigh him down. He did it himself. He did, I am this, I know who I am, and I'm going to kick devil's butt, right?
Yeah.
So I want to speak that to you. You are a kick devil butt person. You are a warrior, and you are a man, and you are good. And I believe in you. And so one thing about men, I learned this from John Eldridge's book, Wild at Heart, or The Way of the Wild at Heart, and the book called Desire, or The Journey of Desire. So Nick, you're a guy, I'm a dude, and I give you my strength, and I give you my honor as a man. And one of the things I love saying to other people on this podcast is I give you permission granted to pursue your dreams, to fulfill your destiny, and to discover who you are. You have permission from me as an ambassador of heaven to give you the courage to go forward into your life, to believe and pursue the desires of your heart. So I bless you with that, okay? And as a man, I give you my strength to do that. You've got what it takes, Nick. And I want you to listen to what's in your heart. I remember when I was just briefly talking to you before the broadcast, I asked you, how's your, where are you at in your seeing and hearing in the Spirit? And you said you're still beginning in that. Is that correct, right?
That's right, yeah.
And so that's something that's super important, is that the desires of your heart speak. There's a voice in your heart. And that voice comes from heaven. So start paying attention to hearing that voice. One of the greatest practical ways to activate that, I'm going to give you an application now. Okay?
Okay.
So I want you to log your dreams in a journal every single morning and do it faithfully. So you have to have a special journal that's specifically for dreams or when heaven is speaking to you. You need to have a special pen. That pen is only for writing in that book. And that means it's a sacred thing to you. It doesn't mean it's magic. It just means it's sacred. And as you begin to write down your dreams in your sleep, and even if you don't have a dream that night, say, here's the date, no dream. Or write an impression. It doesn't matter. But if you faithfully do that for several months or more, your dreams and your eye opens up more and more. Okay? And so you end up having encounters or dreams. And that's when heaven will speak to you. And that's when your eye and your ear of your heart will open up. And you'll be able to perceive new things. So I encourage you, that's a practical way to get a senses. It's like exercising. You're exercising your spiritual senses. Your body has senses, right? You have your eyes, your ears, your tongue, your taste, your nose, your sense of touch. But your spirit man also has those abilities as well. And when you start exercising that by journaling, your eye and ear open up. And so does your other senses. So I want to encourage you with that as a practical thing so that you begin to crystallize what's in your heart. See, one thing I learned is that God, the Bible says that God knew us before. That means before we were born, right? Well, that means that before we were born, we were somewhere where we were with the Father God in heaven. And when we are brought to earth through our mother's womb and through conception, we were given a scroll in our heart. And in that scroll is a written of an agreement with God, the Father, a sense of destiny, assignment, of identity and destiny. And so when you become born and physically, all that is in amnesia. And we have no memory. But then those things in our heart begin to surface and echo. And we have to grow up. We have to mature. We have to become an adult and grow further. And so that's part of our growing process. Okay?
Yeah.
And so that's when we remember our future. Okay? And that's what I want to help you with, is that I want to give you practical things to clue in with your heart's desires and to give you the courage to go forward into your future. These stories that I write always end with inceptio. That is Latin for the beginning. I don't end your story right now. I give you where you are today, and I hand you your future, and I give you the beginning, and it's up to you to finish your parable. Okay? Now, Jen, your mom says, I always known that where there was something special inside of Nic. His name means victorious warrior. Robbie says, the world needs what God has placed in your heart. You will find your purpose and your true identity with God. You can do it. And then Robbie says, Jen, love this. I guess Robbie and Jen know each other. Cool. So, I've talked a lot right now, but I want to give you a couple minutes. Talk to me, talk to the audience. What's going on as you're hearing all this?
Well, this is definitely very inspirational. I love hearing all of this. It definitely is a spirit booster. It's kind of clear-minded now on what I'm kind of like wanting to do and like where spiritually and what I'm gonna do. I'm definitely gonna try and talk to a lot of people about this. Definitely,
Cool.
Try to inspire other people to talk about this and maybe come onto the show even and just talk about exactly what we're talking about. So definitely something I'm gonna try and do.
Fantastic. Oh, Jen just chimed in, your mom. Me too. Nic has struggled with confidence and self-worth. This is right on and so timely for Nic as he has been searching for his purpose. This is amazing. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See, if your mom can say hello, and then I've never met your mom. I don't know who she is, but if she's hearing what I'm saying and what the story's saying, and she knows you, it's like the dots are connecting together, right? So this is huge for your mom. Your mom's a fighter for you. Your mom is a strong woman who's believing in you when you don't believe in yourself. I know from my own experience in my journey, there were many times that I didn't believe in myself, but my parents did. And they fought for me. They sacrificed for me in so many ways. I'm indebted to them, you know? And so your mom's your champion for you. But guess what? You're going to grow up and become a champion for her. And there's going to be something so cool about what you're going to do and your identity that you're going to be like an amazing, like your mom already is proud of you. But you're going to grow up and become something that will just add on to that joy that she has for you. That the strength and identity that, like, that's my kid. That's my boy. And she's going to say that to you. And then Robbie says, I'm so happy for you as his mama. Thanks, Robbie, says your mom. So this is so cool. You know, one thing I love about this is that we get to meet all sorts of new people on the show. And it's so beautiful to watch people unfold and seeing things. And so, you see, I'm doing my hands. It remind me of something. So, Nick, I want to go back to some of your story. So, when we're in heaven, we're given that scroll, right? It's our agreement to go on into earth and live for Him. Now, when we enter into this earth suit, there's two things that show up. One is the orphaned heart, and the other is our scroll of our destiny and our identity. And these things clash, right? They pull at each other. And so what has to happen is we have to find out who we are, and that we are loved, and that we are treasured, and then that orphaned heart will be healed on some level. It's a process. And then that allows us to have more of a strength for our identity and destiny, okay? And so that is a partnership. It's a dance. It's a growth of maturity for you, okay? So I want to help you understand what you are. I highly recommend you get books written by John Eldredge. I don't know if you've heard of him, but
I have heard of him.
Okay, good. Wild at Heart, The Way of the Wild Heart, The Journey of Desire. There's other books he's written. Some of the foundations of what I talk about come from him. And I want to encourage you with that as a man, that you are going to become stronger and stronger as you find out who you are, okay? Yeah. And that sense of orphan-heartedness, there's a healing that's going to happen where you're going to have a connection with the heart of the Father. And that connection will be growing stronger and stronger. And then that'll let you be able to achieve the dreams of your heart. And be able to go through tough times, but also know your successes too. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cool. Mike Smith says, Nick, you have an amazing future in front of you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
Cool. I don't know if we're done. We might be done, but let me ask you some more questions. Is there anything else in this story that sticks out to you? Anything that you can remember? I know that you've been drinking from a fire hose of all this, but what else is stirring in your heart? What else?
Oh, man. It's kind of tough because, we kind of covered most of it already.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of anything else that was like a hard hitter, but I'm not really having anything that's ringing my bell at the moment.
That's fine. Well, I'll end the conversation with one thing from your story. Sure. Is that in the story, after you met yourself, your 60-year-old self, you were caught up in the realm of peace and light, and you found yourself asleep on your camel returning to a base camp. And there's all sorts of people that welcomed you there. So I want you to know is that God is giving you, or has given you, or will give you a community that celebrates you, a place of belonging. That is where you're going to find yourself. Not only will you find out who you are and what you're going to do, it's also going to be about the people that are surrounding you. They'll be champions for you. They'll celebrate you, and then you can drink in that wine glass and see a reflection of the future and go, that's me. And that's where I'm going, and that is who I am becoming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's just wrap it up here. So we got in about 50. Oh wow, 50 minutes go by so fast. Holy cow! If you have loved this show and you want to have your own story, first of all, hit the like button, hit subscribe to this channel. Let us know about yourselves in the comments. And if you want your own story, a prophetic story, go to legendsofthewind.com and go to the shop or the product page and look for Become a Legend and order yourself a story. as you can see through Nic's story and through the many other previous episodes, that these stories really empower people. They really open up people's eyes to their identity and destiny and unlock treasures that are hidden inside you. So this is not just a cool event. This is a spiritual awakening that can happen for you if you get a story. So I highly recommend you get to become a legend. Find out who you are. Find out where you're going. Let the story tell you about that kind of thing. So, and also our shows on Mondays and Thursday nights. School's about to be starting soon, so at the end of this month, we'll be probably doing once a week because I have to homeschool my daughter. And if you want to reach me, you can email me at support@legendsthewind.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to, get a sense of what you're experiencing when you're watching these shows. I really want to build with you guys. And Nic, I'm available to you. If you have further questions or concerns in the future, please text me, email me, reach out to me. I'm available for the people I give stories to. So, yeah, man. Now, you kind of alluded to this a little bit ago, but what would you say to someone? Would you recommend giving them the recommendation to have their own story? What would you say?
Yeah, I definitely would recommend this to anybody. Obviously, I had a great time, a great experience, a great inspiration coming from this story. I highly recommend it to anybody who's thought about it. I definitely would get one of these for sure.
Thanks, man. That's so cool.
No
I'm so glad that this really hit your heart in a good way. Even though that there's loss in life, I mean, I've in the past couple of years, I've lost 8 significant people to death. Okay, like fathers and certain people who I love dearly are gone, and there's a lot of loss in life, but also there's a lot of breakthrough and joy. So I want to just leave that with you, that as you go on your hero's journey, you can do it, and I believe in you, and you've got a family and a community that believes in you. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Cool. So Jen says, I'm so excited for you, Nic. Always proud of you. Sedane, 3-5.
That's my brother right there.
Your brother? Oh,
Yeah.
This was an amazing story. I can't wait for my legend. Awesome. I can't wait to get it for you, man. And then Robbie says, agree, 100%, Nic. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for everybody who's been in the comments for saying great things to encourage Nic. This is a great time. I'm so happy for you, Nic. And by the way, when I close the show, there'll be a 2-minute piece of music. Do not hang up, Nic. I want to do a debrief after the 2-minute music, so don't hang up, okay? So everybody, guys, thank you for being part of this great community. Thank you for everyone who are commenting and supporting Nic in his journey. I hope that the story will continue to speak to him and to you and to your family, Nic, as people are and your whole family are going to be encouraged as they order this story. So thank you so much, everyone. I will see you on the next broadcast. Say goodbye, Nic.
Later, guys.
Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you soon. All right. Bye-bye.